angles, linear pair angles, angle bisectors, and complementary versus supplementary angles. So those are the 6 angle pairs that we talked about last Thursday in class, and we didn't get a whole lot of time to practice with it in class. So in order for you to best be able to do your homework that's associated with this topic, I thought it might be best to go over a couple problems that you might see on that are related to this topic. So if you look at the screen in front of you, you'll notice that the title says linear pairs, vertical angles, or both. So we're going to be working with some increasingly complex diagrams to figure out what types of angle pairs we're dealing with and how we can work with them to find solutions to different angle pair problems. So we're going to start with problem A. All right, so problem A right here. And what you'll notice is that we are trying to find a couple measures up top, most notably C and A. And you'll notice that whenever you have any kind of intersecting lines, you're going to be dealing with vertical pairs and linear pairs, both of those pairs. So and let's just remember that when you have 2 lines that intersect, you have 2 pairs of vertical angles that are formed. And I'm just drawing my arcs to illustrate which angles are going to be congruent. So angles 1 and 2 are going to be congruent, and angles 3 and 4 are going to be congruent. And remember that congruent means the same angle measure. So when we work with this first diagram, we've got a 37-degree angle, angle A and angle C. So if I were to expand this diagram just a little bit, it kind of looks like this. So 37, A, and C. And what you'll notice is that A is directly across from 37, and so 37 degrees and this angle marked A are going to be vertical pairs, okay? Because they're vertical pairs, they're going to be congruent. So A will be equal to 37 degrees as well. Now, you'll notice that, and I'll trace this in red, that this little line right here, angles A and C come together to make a straight angle. And we know that angle A is 37. So what we can do is we can say, okay, we've got 2 straight angles, A and C. And if they're a straight angle, that means that they sum to 180 degrees. So I can set up a little equation that says angle A plus angle C equals 180. And I'm going to substitute what I know, and I know A is 37, so I'm going to say 37 plus C equals 180. When you solve backwards, you get that angle C will be, angle C is going to be 143 degrees. Oops, and that kind of went off the screen. So angle C is going to be 143 degrees. And all I did is I subtracted 37 from 180. Okay. Now, if we move down a little bit, let's look at diagram F. So we need to find the measure of angle TPU. So whenever you see questions like this, you always need to remind yourself that you have to trace which angle you need to figure out. So in this diagram, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different points. And it can be hard to point out which one you need at first, so you just need to remember to trace your angle, to trace those 3 points in the order that you see them. So we see T is first. So let's put our pointer on T. So we've got point T. And then we notice that it goes to P, so that means P is going to be our vertex. And then it goes all the way to U. So we need to trace back to U. So this angle that's highlighted in red is the angle that we're going to be looking for. All right. Now, this one, we've got a lot going on. So we actually have vertical angles. So right here, we'll see that this 40 is a vertical angle with angle TPU. So, and we also have some right angles going on. And I actually just gave it away pretty quickly, but what you need to look is that in this diagram, we have a lot going on, and you need to be very good at isolating what you need and what you don't need. So in this diagram, we have these 2 lines that are intersecting. And we already know that when we have 2 angles that are across from each other in vertical angles, that they make vertical angles. So what that means is that these 2 angles, and I've highlighted them for you in red, are going to be our vertical angles. And we already know that this angle on the left is 40 degrees. So that is what our angle TPU has to measure. Now, we could take it a step further and we could label some other angles. So we could label, we could label some other angles. If we know that, let's say for example, we know that Well, we already said this one's 40 degrees. But let's say we wanted to figure out the angle in blue. This is where another pair comes into mind. So you'll notice that the angle in blue, well, let's actually highlight that again. Let's highlight this a different color. So we want to find this angle in blue. And you'll notice that this angle that's in green is a right angle. So using what we know about complementary, and remember that complementary means that two angles sum to 90 degrees, we can say, okay, the blue angle, so the blue angle plus 40 equal 90. And you want to do your algebra, solve backwards, so subtract 40 from both sides, and you get that the blue angle is going to be equal to 50 degrees. So now we've solved using a different pair that we know from our angle pairs activity and our lesson notes that this blue angle is going to be 50 degrees. And you could figure out, I'll highlight it in black, you could figure out this black angle as well. So you'll notice that, and let's just get rid of this because it's getting a little messy, but let's say we want to figure out this angle. And we know that the red angle and the blue angle come together to make a straight angle. And we already talked about that straight angles are equal to 180 degrees. So what we can do is we can say the blue angle plus the red angle equal 180. And we need to substitute what we know. We know the blue angle is 40. And we still don't know our red angle. We know that they equal 180. You solve backwards, so you would subtract 40 from both sides, and you would get that your red angle is equal to 140 degrees. Okay, so, and I apologize that my screen is lagging a little bit, so I did just kind of walk through that, but I apologize that it's lagging. I must have a slow internet connection, but the math is all shown there now on your screen. So, and that problem highlights one that you might see, and it's one of the more difficult ones because, not because the math is difficult, but because there is a lot going on in the diagram, and a lot of students tend to freeze up when they see a problem that looks like that, just because it's got so much going on in the diagram. So I urge you to take each problem piece by piece and work through each thoroughly and carefully. And there's not really any way you can go wrong as long as you have learned your angle pairs. All right, thank you for tuning in. Please remember that you have a test coming up on Friday, so 3 days from now. And after-school tutoring is on Tuesdays and Thursdays, so if you have any questions before your upcoming test, please swing by after school for some review.